of you, everybody in this room, you have all contributed to making the Doc Project a huge success, and so it is back again. Yay! But the woman who's most single-handedly responsible for being a huge success is the wonderful Tanya Spinger.
Patently not true, because... No, not true at all. It really is because of everyone's participation. So whether you came to the open learning sessions and found them helpful, or viewed them online, or applied, or were one of the 26 people who were awarded either a boot camp spot or a mentorship, these are the people who have made it successful, or just on our Facebook community or whatever. It is because of the demand for this type of program that the demand has created great output, and the output and the continued demand is the reason why we have been renewed, and we're really, really happy to have been renewed. So we're going to take these great numbers that you could see up here, the tangible results that we've gotten from really October until March, and translate them into even more output, so more documentaries, more people involved, more mentorships, etc. So we'll run through today how you can be involved and what the application process will look like for the next year.
And what's changed?
And what's changed? Some things have. So what is staying the same? The focus remains the same. So first and foremost, it's a professional development initiative. And so, as was the case in the last two terms, the Doc Project Committee is looking at potential rather than perfection, and people rather than over pitches. So the content really does matter, but we are still developing people who we believe deserve developing. So that stays the same. Mentorships. The mentorships will continue. So this was after all of the kind of feedback that we got and all of the focus groups that we did. The mentorships were the one thing that people wanted to really, really see continue. So we're glad to, I'll show you in a minute, our new kind of roster of mentors. And we're happy that this year there will be more mentorships available. The open learning is definitely going to stay, so it was really lovely to hear from people how these sessions were being used, how beneficial they were and who they were beneficial for. So for instance, I heard that the videos were being watched in journalism classrooms, they were being watched by our interns, many of you guys from across the regions, hello to everyone watching, have said that the videos are really great and make you feel connected to a broader community. So the open learning definitely is going to stay. And we're still evolving. So when we first started back in September, we said that this was, our doors were open, and we were really open to suggestions as to what we could do and how we could better serve you if you didn't see a way that you naturally would fit inside of the program as we first spelt it out. And people did that, and that was phenomenal. That lent to some of the best outcomes that we had in the past year. So our doors remain open, and that's what is staying the same. What's changing?
What's changing, Tanya?
So there's not going to be a boot camp program in the coming year. While there won't be a formal boot camp that people apply to, there will be other types of training opportunities and smaller hands-on workshops available to folks. So some of this will be open to everyone, so it'll be kind of a more intensive open learning opportunity perhaps, and others will be invitation only. As you can see here, this is one of the two sessions that took place for advanced Dalit users here in Toronto. That was pretty successful, and some of them will take place in regional centers. So that is a big change.
The Advanced Dalit workshop was a mixing workshop where people learned tricks and techniques for multi-track sound mixes, basically.
Mm-hmm. So there's going to be fewer rules around the mentorship program. So last year, there was quite a number of rules in place about people only working with doc editors that they have never before worked with programs that they have never contributed to. And we'd like to kind of eliminate those formal rules and basically extend the invite for mentees to apply to work with any of our mentors that are available on any of the programs that air documentaries, so long as they can really demonstrate that this opportunity will aid in their professional development in some way, shape, or form. So we're going to introduce the idea of mentor office hours. And so this is a great way for those of you who don't know the mentors that I'm about to introduce virtually. For those of you who don't know the mentors, this is a great way for you to meet with them, workshop your ideas with them, your pitches, maybe get their endorsement, their unofficial endorsement, saying, hey, this sounds like a great idea. It's something I would air on my program. I support you applying for something like this. So these mentors have committed to having office hours every other week. They're really flexible, and all you have to do is email them and ask them, when are your next available office hours? Can I make an appointment? And so they are more than open and willing to meet with you to talk about your pitches, your perhaps it's feedback that you need at any step along the way of your proposal writing. And there's more mentors. So in an effort to put some faces to names, especially for the folks who don't work on this floor every single day, we have Steve Wadhams from Living Out Loud, who will continue as a mentor, Karen Levine from the Sunday edition, who will continue as a mentor, Karen Wells from the Sunday edition, who isn't necessarily a doc editor. She's one of the best doc producers that we have here in the department. She has lended herself to the mentorship. She's also at the Sunday edition. Greg Kelly, who also wasn't a mentor last year. He's the executive producer of Ideas, but also a great doc editor and producer himself. He has agreed to be a mentor. Nicola from Ideas, who I believe is here. Mary O'Connell, who was a mentor at the very beginning of last year. She worked with Josh Block on our very first mentor partnership again. Joan Weber from The Current is going to be a mentor again. And Iris from DNTO, who's based in Winnipeg, is also a phenomenal resource and doc editor herself. And she is going to also be a mentor, which is exciting because it opens up a whole new show for us. So DNTO, a lot of people were interested in contributing to DNTO last time, and it was a bit tricky for us. So this time it will hopefully be easier. So those are our mentors. So it's not necessary for you to take advantage of your proposed mentor's office hours, but it's really encouraged to do so prior to submitting your application, just to show that you've taken some initiative and ran the idea past them and perhaps workshopped it a bit and had a little back and forth. And as was the case last time, the mentors that we listed here will generally work on items that are for air for their program. So if you could try and avoid, applying to work with Karen Levine on a piece for The Current. That's something that just practically speaking would be really difficult for us to manage. So they'll be working on items for their own shows.
There were some exceptions last year that worked out really well, but it was a lot of they are exceptions. So exceptions can happen, but easier if you go to the mentor on the show that you'd like the piece to air on.
Mm-hmm. Which show is Steve associated with?
He's Living Out Loud. Yeah. And he's the one person who has time and has been able to free himself up to mentor people to work on docs for other shows. So he worked with Gord, for example, on a doc for The Current.
So this is a really big change for the mentorship program. Instead of having one or two really hard deadlines for everyone to meet, this is now going to be a rolling admissions deadline. So the application period is open from June 15th which is like this week, I think, if you've really got your act together, to December 31st. And that's not to say that there will be another session after December. These pieces all do have to be completed by the end of March. And so that December 31st application deadline is really to kind of ensure that they are completed by then. So basically, candidates are welcome to submit applications anytime within that period, but they are encouraged to submit them as far in advance as possible. So there's a couple reasons why we did it this way. It gives you more flexibility. So just in case if we had a hard deadline, if it came in a crunch time for your show or a special project you were working on, then that sucks for you. It sucks sometimes for show leaders to have to give up people or grant people permission to apply all at the same time. And it was also difficult for our mentors, and it's difficult finding backfill. So we hope that in having the application deadline open, will kind of create some flexibility for you to really put time into your application when you have the time. And then also maybe suggest you apply in July. You have met with your proposed mentor and you've met with your show exec, and you think that the best time for you to do this is in October. You can apply in July and say, this is something I'd like to do for the month of October. And that gives us a lot of time to ensure that your mentor is free, to ensure that we can backfill you if necessary. And so it hopefully will eliminate some of the scheduling difficulties we had last time. So candidates must submit their applications by the 15th of each month in order for them to be considered in the next round of review. So the Doc Project Committee will be meeting at the start of every calendar month, and we will review the applications that came in the month prior up until the 15th. So that gives the committee 2 weeks to really review those applications at length. As an example, if you submit your application July 15th, we'll review it the first week of August, and you should get your answer in that first week of August. But if you don't submit it until July 20th, it won't be up for review until the first week of September. Does that make sense to everyone? Okay. So the Doc Project Mentorship application, which is now online, all this material is now on the Doc Project website. I'll email it out to everyone after this. It looks largely the same for everyone who applied last time. There are really subtle differences. The biggest difference is in the time that it is, the fact that there's no deadline. But there are quite, other than that, it's pretty similar. So it's still a $750 travel budget if needed. And as of right now, we are not considering international travel. So it's pretty straightforward, and these 4 points down here at the bottom are pretty important. As was the same last year, all Net Talk employees have to have consent of their show leader to apply. For employees outside of Network Talk from different departments or regions, they have to be recommended to apply by their managers. And freelancers are welcome to apply without any approvals. That is it. So this is up online, and I'll send it out after. So in sum, the mentorship program, we are offering more mentorships. There are more mentors and programs. There's the idea of office hours, which we really hope that applicants will make use of prior to applying. There's more flexibility around who you can apply to work with, which programs, and the introduction of this rolling deadline. So that's it for the mentorships. I guess we'll move on, or should we do questions? Questions now, Mika, about the mentorship?
How many docs do you think will end up being commissioned? And if you apply in December, do you run the risk of...
Yes, if you apply in December, I mean, it's really, I wish we could say that no, every month is weighted equally, but we hope that by telling people now apply early, they understand that, yeah, if you apply in December, there's going to be more people applying in December, maybe. I mean, people do tend to wait until the last minute, and it'll be difficult to get approvals for everyone to finish or to start and finish projects between January 1st and March 31st if like everyone waits and applies then. So we do have a system in place that we have benchmarks in each month that hopefully will guide us in terms of how many we can approve so that we, have enough spots left to give all throughout the year. But my suggestion would really be to apply as early as you can.
Thank you.
No problem. Any other questions about the mentorship?
Yeah, so we don't know exactly how many spots there would be then altogether?
No.
It depends on the timeline.
It depends on the quality of the pitches, really. We want to make as many as possible.
And is there a set timeline if you are approved, for example, and you are going to, be backfilled in your regular job for another period of time? You mentioned a month. Is it a certain amount of weeks, or again?
It does depend on the project. We did extend it by 1 week for ideas docs, so it was previously between 2 to 4 weeks. It's now a mentorship is between 2 to 5 weeks, but it really just depends on the nature of what you're applying for. And in terms of there being kind of an expiry date on, if you apply, then you have to use it there's no such thing. So long as you apply and it's part of the application, when would you like to do this and why does that make sense? So long as you can answer that and we can, confirm that it does make sense, then you can apply as early as June 15th to do something in December. If that's when something is happening or, when you are next available or your mentor is next available, then that's fine.
And in terms of connecting with the mentor and office hours and stuff like that, is that something to go through you and to in advance, or are we talking to the mentors directly?
Nope, you're talking to the mentors directly. Okay. So they all are aware and very excited about that kind of this new dimension of the program, and they have all committed to setting aside an hour every other week to field these types of pitches and workshop application ideas with candidates, and they're really on board with that.
So we can the first thing we can do is just send them an email and say, hey, let's meet.
Yeah, I mean, so I do
with
have
an idea.
With an idea.
Now with a blank slate. No, yeah.
With an idea. I do have a great resource that I put together that was, as Nicola put it, or was it you or Joan? It was a tall order, which it was a tall order. But I've asked every single one of the mentors to finish 5 sentences. And those sentences are, when pitching to me, producers should, ... The docs that best describe my style are, the piece that I produce that I'm most proud of is, and so that's something that I will email out after this. It has hyperlinks to their favorite pieces that they've listened to, their favorite pieces they've produced, and gives you a better sense of some of their style and approach. If there's faces up there that you didn't recognize or names you didn't recognize, it's a good tool to kind of better understand them and see who your best match would be.
And their show, right?
Yes.
That's the other thing, is to know their show.
Yeah.
So a doc that would work beautifully for DNTO may not work for the Sunday edition or the Current, right? So to know, where your story has the best chances of meeting the show mandate.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions about the mentorship? Elena?
Can you apply more than once? Like, say your application is denied in one application, can you reapply?
Yeah, that actually is one of the upsides, as we saw it, to doing it this way, is that we really hope that, because it is a professional development initiative, first and foremost, we did provide feedback to people last year, and for people especially who applied in the second round, it was unfortunate for them to receive that feedback and not be able to work on correcting it right away. So hopefully this will provide that opportunity for you to get a application that was unsuccessful back, get some feedback from the committee, workshop it a bit more, maybe move on to another idea completely if it wasn't a good idea for X number of reasons, then reapply, definitely. Yeah. John.
And there's more.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, John.
Just
Sorry,
one
John.
quick question. Is there flexibility in how you use the time that you allotted? Okay? In the sense that sometimes 2 weeks together isn't necessarily, maybe you have some groundwork to do at the beginning, and so you could do that.
It's all about making it work for all the shows involved.
Yeah.
So as long as it works for the show that you're coming from.
Okay, and there's more. So there is a new program. It's called the On Loan Program. So there are lots of people to learn from within this department, not just the mentors that I just named, but tons of people with like a variety of really focused skills. So these mentors are the masters at making docs, but there's people whose specialty is perhaps, creating really sound-rich mixes, or coaching in studio for voicing, or creating digital complements to documentaries. So the On Loan program seeks to connect you with people who, this is what it does. I'm trying to find another way to say it, but there's
it's like
no point.
It's like a mini mentorship.
It is.
If you want a day of mentoring on script writing, then that's what we try to do for you. Mm-hmm. That sort of thing.
It is a brief and focused mini mentorship, or as I described it to Lynda yesterday, a quick and dirty mentorship. She said that brief and focused sounded better, so that made it on the slide. This is a bit weird and confusing, so let's talk through there's two scenarios through which the On Loan program works. So scenario one is that you, the candidate, apply to be seconded from your program to shadow an expert for 1 or 2 days. And in this scenario, you're the one who's backfilled. I'll give you some examples about what that could look like in a moment. Scenario number 2 would be for you to apply to second an expert to come work with you on a specific project and help you develop a specific skill. So in this scenario, again, that's 1 or 2 days. In that scenario, the expert would be seconded. So, and backfilled, yes, sorry. So what could this look like? Scenario 1. Okay, so just imagine you're a doc producer on you're a producer, on day 6. You're working on a documentary. You know how to make documentaries, you know what your doc's about, you've collected the tape, but, and I could say this from someone who did produce docs on day 6, there's not really a chance in a week to, when you're turning around a doc quickly, to really hone your mixing skills. So maybe you say, okay, this one doc that's coming up that I'm producing next week, I really want to borrow a Spark producer who is an awesome mixer. And I'm going to apply to take them out on loan for 1 day, 2 days, to come sit with me at my desk and make this doc sound awesome and really improve my skills in the process. And so hopefully you have someone in mind, maybe you don't, maybe you come to me and we try and find somebody who would be a good match. And then you would work side by side with that person, creating a great doc, kind of co-producing it. We're hoping this will cross-pollinate between shows and create like new sounds that we haven't heard yet. And in turn, you next time hopefully have a more developed skill set when it comes to mixing your own doc. So in this situation, the mixing expert from Spark would have been the one who was seconded and backfilled.
And it could be half a day, right? It doesn't have to be 2 days.
Totally. Scenario 2, a junior doc editor would like to improve his or her vetting skills, so they apply to go on loan. The next time that Karen Levine is doing a mix or doing a vet session, of which she's really known for, I've sat through them before, they're awesome and long and great, but it's the type of thing that you wouldn't really know what it's like unless you've done it. And there's people in this building who should know what it's like that don't have the opportunity to sit in one of those vetting sessions. So in this scenario, the doc project would backfill the applicant, so you to be seconded to go sit in Karen's vetting session and really soak it all in. Scenario 3. So you're a producer on The Current. You would really like to improve your tape gathering and interviewing skills. So you apply to go on loan and shadow Karen Wells, who, if you don't know Karen Wells, that is her forte, her expertise as being out in the field. So she is collecting sound in Toronto, in and around the city, someplace that you could drive to with her. You apply to be seconded for a day or two to go with her and basically kind of shadow her as she does her job for a day or two, and come back to your desk with enhanced tape gathering skills and new confidence around going out into the field. And we'd backfill you in that instance. And this is the last scenario, I promise. So
She would have gone forever, you guys.
I really think it's a great thing. I wanted to really explain how malleable this program could be. So you are airing a doc. You'd really like for there to be a wow factor or digital component. So you apply to borrow a radio digital producer to build something wicked with you, for you, and they help you execute your vision. And we'd, of course, backfill the radio digital person for that. So these are 3 key points about the on-loan program that is to keep in mind. So the deadline's rolling. I'll show you the application form in a moment. It's very, very straightforward. It's not reviewed by the committee. It's reviewed by myself and Lynda. It will be reviewed in the week that you submit it. So if there's something time sensitive, if you're working on something for next week or have something on the horizon, this is designed to accommodate that.
When we can.
When we can. It's only open to staff and temp employees, so this is not a program that really lends itself well to freelancers, and there's no travel budget associated with it. And this is it's a really tiny, sorry, but it's basically, it's 1 page. That's all it is. So it's basically, telling us who you are, what your proposed loan is, what the project is that you need help with. And again, open between now and the end of December. So that basically is it for us. What's next is start workshopping your pitches, apply. You could start applying really as soon as possible, and get involved. If there's some way, if you don't see a way in what I've just described for you to get involved, get in touch with me. If you have ideas for open learning sessions, especially, please get in touch with me. Our next one is coming up in 2 weeks, June the 24th. It's a great panel. One of our panelists is here, Mika Anderson, who produced a great doc that is airing in our summer series and on Living Out Loud. And it is called It's All About Me, or Is It?
The session, not the doc.
No, yeah. But it's about inserting yourself in documentaries and the risks and benefits of that. And we have 3 great panelists. Simon is coming from Montreal. He's an ideas producer. He's freelanced on a ton of different programs. He just had a piece in C'est La Vie last week where it was just him and his wife. And so he knows about this firsthand. He also knows about this from his experience with his mentorship last year about the potential benefits and drawbacks of inserting yourself
As a
character within your documentary. Daniel also produced a doc last year where he really inserted himself. And Mika, to what extent did you insert yourself in your doc?
Very openly. That's all I'll say.
Mika's doc is about body hair removal, and she was the key subject. And so that'll be really fun. If you have any suggestions about panels or open learning sessions that you'd like to see take place, please let me know. Does anyone have any questions about any of this? Emma.
Sure, I can't be the only one who's wondering, but for the on-loan program, can you do like more than one if you're really eager to learn a lot of things?
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, you have to, if you read the application, you'll see that you really have to, describe what you hope to get out of the experience, how it'll enhance your day-to-day work. So it's not, I want to learn how to tech, but I work in a position that would never see me teching. And how will you use the opportunity to kind of further your development within your job. And so if you can demonstrate that, then yeah, absolutely.